So what you are underscoring here, Sanjay, is the value of experience. You're saying that you should have. So my question is, so by the time you accumulate this level of knowledge and experience, a large part of your journey is done.
No.
So you want to get rich before you get old like
That's
Buffett.
another thing Mr. Munger said. He said, don't be in a rush to get rich quick.
But if you look at their own track record, Buffett was, in his partnership, he was the best.
You look at Buffett, how much was he worth at 60?
That is because of the power of compounding.
That's it.
But in that context, at that time also he was outperforming. Hand over fist, he was making money.
The outcome is that he was outperforming. The point is that he had a purpose in terms of what he wanted to achieve in his life. And the very fact that
which he said he wanted to get rich.
Well, Munger
Buffett definitely said that.
Buffett, I think, is a little bit contradictory because in many ways...
He always said, I wanted, I was sure I wanted, and he was also sure he would get rich.
The evolution of his life where he sold, second-hand golf balls and, so you're right. His father was a senator in DC. It's absolutely right. But in Munger's case, he said, I want to make money because I value independence. I desperately value my independence. My ability to do what I believe in. I don't want to buy Ferraris. That's one of his quotes. Again, I've put it a little upside down. But he actually said that. And I think most of us would be well served by understanding that. And he also said, don't aim to get rich quick. It's dangerous. So, to your point, that all of us want to get rich quick. Of course, all of us want to get rich quick. But the life of Charlie Munger is an illustration of how the better way, the smarter way, the more effective way, the chance of getting seriously rich is the other way around. Patience, wisdom, reading, character. If I had to, my mental lattice work of models would include these.
Sure.
Because that's what he really taught us.
Can you pluck out three or four important mental models from Munger?
Yeah. And I mean, there's so many that he taught us. It's not difficult to come out with two or three, but I think the most famous one, which everyone knows, and I don't want to sort of bore people to death, is always think about how, if you look backwards, how it would turn out to be. He said it much more succinctly. He said, invert, invert, invert.
Right.
Yeah? Which means that don't assume best case, don't assume you're right. Challenge yourself. And always think, how am I wrong? That's very powerful as a mental model. The second one, which he again spoke about extensively and is very important, goes back to the economics of, or the lessons of compounding, but not often seen that way. And it's become a cult following kind of thing in India now. Quality. In fact, people say he converted Buffett from buying cigar butts to buying high quality companies. So his idea was this, very simply put, that if you buy a business that is consistent in terms of the cash flow that it can generate over time, then you can afford to, you have a much greater chance that the power of compounding will work in your favor. Because the multiplicative effects of cash flow accumulation is just, the human mind is boggled, it can't imagine. You can't imagine what it's like. If I asked you what's 2 to the power of 64, which is 64 quarters, 16 years, you wouldn't know the answer. There's this famous story of the chessboard and the guy who said, I want 1 grain of rice on the first one, 2 grains on the second one. And by the time he reached the 64th square on the chessboard, the king had gone bust.
Correct.
I think that's what Munger is really suggesting. That's why he says that you need to buy businesses that are consistent, that are predictable, that will continue to generate cash flow. So that's the second one. I think the third one, which is also very important, and which comes from his understanding of human character, is that associate with people who do not think short term when they are running your business for you.
Right.
Because again, it's partly the power of compounding and the chance that that might get upended, but more importantly, that you can't trust them.
Right.
And if you can't build that trust because of his reputation, his integrity, that manager's ability to make sensible capital allocations, you are not the guy running the business. He is your steward in running the business. And Buffett says this again and again in terms of the people whom he has running his businesses and the tributes he pays to them. It goes back to this idea that you must deal with people in your life, in business, who are running businesses, who have the highest integrity and reputation, whom you can trust. And conversely, if you become a very large shareholder, they can trust you to behave sensibly as a large shareholder.
Right.
It works both ways. In India, we have rarely seen the second consequence. But in the US, you do have that consequence. So I think for me, these are, I guess, what is important. The Collapse of Nations by Jared Diamond, of which Munger was a great fan, is also a fascinating. It's not Munger himself, it's Jared Diamond, but what makes very, very, very large institutions or entities fail? Why do they collapse? And that's one thing that I learned from Collapse, but Munger is so much he has such high praise for Jared Diamond that I think, in a sense, it's what, Jared Diamond just wrote it down first. Munger would probably have written down the same damn thing if he'd, been there. So,
Sure.
so that I would say.